Okay.
Good evening. It is the regular meeting for New Canaan Police Department, Police Commission of November 16th, 2022. First item is minutes from the previous meeting. Any corrections or additions?
Not here.
Okay, I had two little ones.
Oh, you do?
I did.
Mhm.
On the second page,
Mhm.
Giancarlo Vincenzi. You didn't put it, he's the last name.
Oh, I just put you in.
Yeah, the chief reviewed. We know who he is, but
Okay,
it's probably a little more casual than we want. But
I'll add it.
and on the third page, in the second sentence, Lieutenant DeFelice will serve as the investigative commander for 4 years, as opposed to 4 years. There's a missing,
For 4 years.
yes.
Yes.
For a total of 4 years or something.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it.
Good.
Thank you.
Should we approve as?
Approve as amended.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good. Chief, reports, please.
Sure, the first report I have is our budget, and it reads that we're currently at 16.0, should be at 33.3.
Yeah.
And the reason behind that is finance department is catching up and hasn't posted everything they need to yet, so that's not an accurate budget number for us through the end of October. I know they're working hard, trying to catch up on.
Yeah, it looks like salaries and stuff didn't quite hit.
Exactly,
But there,
some of the big numbers haven't hit.
right.
Chief, what is the item at the second page? Salaries, holiday, sellback. What is that?
Officers get, if they work a holiday, they get to either earn a holiday or sell it back and get paid for it. So it's a benefit that they get.
Okay.
Right. And second page, animal control is 17.10. Once again, that's probably not accurate and everything probably hasn't been posted yet. But that's a relatively small budget, so. Don't think I have any concerns, but until things catch up, we won't have anything more accurate, then we'll know better.
Okay,
Next report I have is monthly statistics. I'll just highlight some incidents. So family disputes 58 versus 50, so that's a somewhat of an increase. That's actually good news because folks are calling us for help and we're able to help them. Not all of those are defined as domestic violence or result in arrest, but they're all disputes related to family in some way or another. So encourage everyone to keep calling us if they need help. We'll be there to help. Largest from vehicle 27 versus 37, so that's a drop. Hopefully that trend continues. Property motor vehicle accident property damage 310 versus 290. That's a little bit of an increase. Not concerning given the traffic levels are starting to normalizing now versus what they were about a year ago. And motor vehicle accident with injury 28 versus 30, so that's a little bit less. So that's good news. Psychiatric problem 56 versus 44. Once again, that's a increase in trend we've seen for the past several years, and more psychiatric issues that our officers are dealing with, and they're really well trained to deal with them. So we're glad to help in any way regarding that. School checks 291 versus 67, so that's a big increase. Shift's been doing a great job in checking the schools. Officer Gibson's been checking the schools and calling it in, so that's been a great initiative, and hopefully making everybody in our town that's a parent feel a little more secure, and very welcoming to him and all the initiatives he's been moving forward with. Stolen vehicle 18 versus 35, so that's a decrease. Hope that trend continues, and but that 18 number is still substantially more than times when we would see 2, 3, or 4 a year. So that still continues to be a concern. And I think we talked about last meeting, our officers made a great arrest 3 o'clock in the morning, a couple of unreported stolen cars, a gun in the car. And the news from that is I think there was 5 arrests, 3 adults, 2 juveniles. And one of the adults was arrested, I think it was last week in Norwalk, for firing off gunshots. And so that tells you how dangerous this behavior is and how concerning it is, and why we don't need to attract these folks to our town. I think we can mitigate that by locking our cars and not leaving key fobs in them, and great work our officers are doing in arresting them when they do commit crimes.
Are we seeing any of the stolen catalytic converters that you keep hearing about?
On occasion, it's not quite a dramatic increase, but there's been several, I think maybe 3 in the last several months. So the trouble is it's so quick and lucrative for them, they can slide under a car and cut them out and they're out within a minute or two. So they're
We haven't seen them.
not a huge increase. Now, other communities have been hit hard. I think there was a story today somewhere where there was dozens stolen from a lot, but thankfully we haven't been targeted that hard by these folks.
And could you remind me, this item, motor vehicle accident park?
So it's a property accident that occurs parking, some related to parking.
Oh, okay. So it's a sort of a fender bender in one of the parking lots.
Pretty much.
Yeah, okay.
All right, and then it looked like burglaries were up, 16 versus 5.
Yeah, we had a trend of burglaries. It was a group that was committing them mostly on Friday evenings, and Fairfield County had seen them too.
Yep.
And they're all open investigations. We're doing our best to try to run those folks down. But thankfully, burglaries are down dramatically from what they were years ago. We would have 40 or 50 burglaries a year.
Oh,
So
yeah, okay,
good news is they're down. It's down a lot, but still concerning. But
sure.
we're seeing other crimes happen in that place of that.
And then lastly, for me, school bus enforcement, not enforcement, sorry, violation, the next line down, 101 versus 39.
Yeah,
Like a lot of people don't seem to be paying attention to the school buses or passing them or whatever.
Yeah, I'm probably going to write something and put it out to the local press about it, because we've seen a huge increase
3 times.
in violations. And in fact, we're working with the transportation coordinator and the bus drivers to try to better get them the information they need. Because sometimes incidents are reported that can't be enforced because they don't meet the criteria of state statute. So Lieutenant Ferenga is actually coordinating that.
Okay,
He's
good.
going to get them the information they need so that we can more effectively prosecute these. Can talk with the state's attorney, et cetera, and the bus drivers and the company. And this is largely bus drivers reporting violations because there's cameras on all the buses. And sometimes the actions don't meet the criteria of the statute that would allow us to take enforcement action. We've all been behind buses where the lights go on, they go off, they go on, and they go off, and don't give you much warning. And so we're trying to educate everybody along the way and better able to investigate these cases.
Yeah, and I hope, well, hopefully they're not going around a bus. It might be just going the opposite direction. I don't know.
Yeah, there's some mix. I mean, there's been some
It's bad either
clear
way.
bad violations, passing zone, school
Right.
bus sign out, lights on, et cetera. So
Yeah.
there's been some, when they're borderline and they don't meet the criteria, we don't take enforcement action. So
Okay.
we're trying to better educate everybody related to it.
Next, more reports. Sorry.
Yeah, the staffing report I have is, so in October, we worked about 75% of the time with minimum shifts. And that's can be related to 2 officers on SRO, so off shift, 1 officer assigned to school security, 2 officers in the police academy right now, and 1 opening due to a resignation. And we're gonna meet next month and hopefully fill that opening and maybe
Right.
another one. And lost time was 33.40, which is a little bit less than last year, same time, same month. And a big increase compared to October 2020, when we were fully staffed and didn't have any openings. So that's related to that, but we're in relatively good shape staffing.
Okay. Any sick time flu wise or anything? Because that seems. to be
Yeah, a little
rise,
bit.
but
I
haven't
think
seen-
that's emerging.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's still COVID around, so people are going out for COVID, and there's a flu around, and RSV, I guess, is
Yeah,
another thing.
the
So there's all
respiratory
kinds
thing.
of stuff that's happening that's impacting.
Any other reports?
No,
Okay, let's go on to pedestrian crosswalks. This is a carryover from the last month or so. Is Tiger on?
Yes.
I'm here,
Hi.
Paul.
Hey, Tiger. I don't have the computer in front of me, so I can't see it, but
It's okay.
good. No, you have this.
Yes, it's here.
Yeah.
here he
Um,
is.
Could you pick this up where we left off? And it was more on the decibel sounds and levels.
Sure. So, well, thanks for having us. Officer Virtuli's on as well.
Oh, good.
And I'd like to say that she's done a fantastic job. It's nice to have, I told her in the beginning, it's nice to have a partner because some of these projects are difficult and they're hard to get across the finish line. It's always nice to have somebody help you. And if she hadn't come up with the initiative, I don't think we would be here. So you had a couple of questions before about the tones. Interestingly enough, I got a phone call from a resident who lives on Fitch Lane. He's at the top of the hill, and he actually looks down on that crosswalk that where you went out to see the beacon. And he said that that's several iterations of duct tape. It's not just one. It started back when Canaan Parish, the original building, was there. They had put that duct tape on. So what I think happened is I think the state came there and set the tone and then never came back and actually dialed it back. So we reached out to our consultant about the specs for the locator beacon and the crossing beacon. There's two separate sounds. There's a locator beacon to get someone to the APS, and then when it changes into a crossing sound, there's a crossing beacon, and they don't play together. So when the locator beacon is on, the crossing beacon is not. When the crossing beacon is on, the locator beacon turns off, right? So you've only got one sound at a time. But they can be manually adjusted. So they're set at a time at night when the ambient sound is very, very low, right? So they can get an idea of what the sound would be. And then the unit automatically changes the volume variably based upon the ambient sounds around it. So if it's a very, very busy, loud intersection, it would be a little bit louder so you could hear the locator beacon to get to it. If it's a very quiet intersection, it would be quiet. But then you can set the locator beacon down to a minimum of 0 if you need to, and a maximum setting of 100 decibels. And that's probably the sound of a gas-powered lawnmower, right? Something that we probably would not need to do at any of our locations. She said the majority of them are set so that you can hear the tone, the locator tone, from 6 to 12 feet away. That's the standard, right? So you set it initially at night, sounds are low, and then you adjust it accordingly. But basically, it's a 6 to 12 feet away, and we would look to do basically the exact same thing. Try to set them so that from 12 feet away, 10 feet away, you could locate the crosswalk. Any further than that, be out of spec, and I don't think we would want to do that. And then we would try to make sure that the maximum decibel level, say at a property line or nearby, would be at about 45 decibels. That's our limit on our noise ordinance for property line noise, and we try to stay somewhere around that range. So the 100 decibel setting that you can get to, we wouldn't get to that. We would try to be very cognizant of especially a residence. You know, we're looking at a South End Farm. You know, that residence is quite close. We would want to make sure that we weren't you know, working against them, or, you know, making their quality of life suffer for the beacon itself. We do feel that it's an excellent initiative. It would be fantastic to have all of our crosswalks in and around the downtown, and specifically at South End Farm as well, to be all uniform, so that when you get there, you know what to expect, and you're reading the exact same thing. So with a pedestrian as it travels through town, the expectation is the exact same. That's why you know, there's a uniform traffic control device manual, right? Is to make sure that everyone understands that the stop sign is octagonal, yield sign is triangular, you know, things of that nature. So we'd like to go forward and go forward with the project, design them, and then go forward with it. Come back at that point in time after the design is laid, and then go forward with an appropriation to get them installed, and then obviously set them to the right tone, so that they wouldn't be adversely affecting anyone that might live nearby.
Okay, discussion.
I wanted to say something.
Yes, please.
Sorry, Nicole. I apologize.
Hi, Nicole.
No problem. Good evening, commissioners and admin. I told you guys I would do my research last time of speaking with surrounding towns regarding these crosswalk signals. I only had the chance to call Stanford. They have well over 200 crosswalks signals, which obviously doesn't compare, but I spoke to the Stanford Bureau Chief of Transportation, traffic and parking, Frank Patisse. And he stated, yes, they've have had complaints, but as Tiger mentioned, they can lower it to ambient sound. And the Frank Patisse told me the benefit of having the audible pedestrian signals and to be ADA compliant outweighs not having them at all. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for
Okay, thank you.
considering.
Okay. How many, Tiger, how many intersections were we looking at? Don't have that in front of me.
I believe it was 8.
And what is the cost of these per unit?
The well, that's part of the study, right? So we have I think it's a $32,000 study that we in the department I have money for to perform the study, and then each one of our signals is set up a little bit differently, right? Some have the correct head, some don't. All of them don't have the audible sound. So they actually have to go through and study each individual one. They did point out that it would be somewhere on the order of around $18,000 to retrofit each one, but I don't want to quote them on that because, like I said, they've got to get into each one, take a look at each one, and see what type of head there is, whether it's got a countdown numbers with it, or if it's just the hand, and then the age of the unit, things of that nature. So we'd like to go forward with the study at least. I'll bring that to the Board of Selectmen for approval, and then at that point in time, they would help us get all the way up to bid document stage, and be able to give us a rough estimate of cost for the initiative going forward.
Okay. Is it possible to, instead of rolling out all of them, I just don't know how well they're going to be accepted here in town. For me, I'd like to try them in a couple spots. Is it possible to do it piecemeal as well?
It's possible. I would like to study them all in one shot,
Yeah,
and then roll
okay.
a couple, if that's okay, and we could certainly roll the specifically in the downtown area, and we did have the request from the school system about Farm and South, mainly because they have, they do have some blind students. So I think that would be a good location as well. But I'd like to, and then we can look to roll further. We have R2, Park and Elm, Park and Pine, and then you'd have in essence.
Sorry, hold on just a second. Farm and South, right?
You got Park and Elm would be
Park
one,
and Elm.
because that's right at the train station, right? That's probably, it's pretty big.
Yep.
I would say the one at 106 and 124, it's Main and East. And possibly the one at South and Cherry, right? Because you're going to get a lot of traffic now coming back and forth between the library and the downtown and the parking areas. So I mean, that's 4 right there. 5 if you include Farm and South.
And what was the other one? 106. So is Farm and South?
106 and 124. That's Main and East, right? So just out in front of the town hall. That one.
Then we have
there. I'm sorry, Nicole.
Cherry and East.
Cherry.
The one, but I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's down the hill. If they were looking at, I'm trying to figure on the 4 so around the downtown, specifically in the downtown area. So like I said, Park and Elm, that would be one. That'd be 1. Cherry and Main and East probably be 2.
Yeah.
South and
Cherry
be 3. We could do Farm Road be 4, and then if we pick one more, maybe, but definitely those 4, and then we
We have
work towards.
Main and Locust.
That's another.
Our department.
Right.
Thank you.
We'd have to see how that would, how it would affect the house, but that's another one. We've got a commuter lot right there, right? Or, a bunch of parking lots right there. And that's a pretty big intersection. Services a lot of areas in that, we've got 5 roads coming in there in one shot. Yeah, we could certainly look at it and roll them out. I'd like I said, I'd like to study all of them, because there also might be ones that are, say, a little lower hanging fruit and a little less cost than others. Then, so I'd like that, that option too, whereby if we came back and found out that the 5 that we picked were the most expensive, maybe we want to choose the less expensive ones, do those first and then come forward, So I'd like, maybe we go back, we do the study, come back and say, okay, these are the ones we're going to look at based upon our initial cost estimates. It might not be a factor, it might be a factor. I don't know at present.
All right, and then I looked at the one at South and Cherry, and it's right next to the attorney's office. So the window for that corner office is right there on the sidewalk, which would then be right next to the signal.
Well, we're hoping that they always have their air conditioning on, but yeah, sorry.
No, but so could one be turned down at one corner?
Yeah, they're individually.
They're individual, so each
they're-
individual stand has its own.
Yes. Yeah, so it's not because you can imagine the noise that and like you said, like you mentioned, there's the gas station on the other side might not necessarily have a problem.
Right.
St. Aloysius is pretty far away, so that might not be an issue, right? But
Right.
but no, they're individually, you can dial them down individually and set them at each corner. It's not intersection based, it's corner based.
Got it.
What do you mean it's not intersection based, it's corner based?
Meaning when you set the ambient noise for it, the ambient sound, it's
Oh.
not for the intersection, it's for each individual
Device.
because
yeah.
you'll have one at each corner. So they'll be set accordingly.
I would commend Officer Vertuli for the initiative, taking the initiative and writing that very informative report. But having said that, I'm not sure that I think we really ought to install these devices. Now, it's news to me this evening that the school requested devices at Farm and South, and they have blind students who may need them. So that may be different. But the idea of having them all throughout town, I think, is kind of solving a problem that doesn't exist. And the idea that they have to be near parking lots, I mean, these are for blind.
They don't have to be near a parking lot. I'm just saying that I was mentioning the fact that that is next to, a lot. It doesn't.
Right, but if you think about it, they're to help pedestrians who might be blind. They're not going to be parking a car in a parking lot. Presumably they don't drive. So I just think that having these devices making noise in each intersection, basically you'd have 4 of them going off constantly, would be very detrimental to the ambience of the town, frankly. So
I traveled to Maine this past weekend for a hockey tournament, 4 separate towns, and Gorham, Maine, Portland, Maine, South Portland, Maine, and Augusta, Maine, and Freeport, Maine, and each one of them had it. And to be quite honest with you, if I hadn't been paying attention, I wouldn't have heard them. But because every signal now that I pull up to, I actually pay attention. I heard them, but they were in each one of the towns. Now, granted, Portland's a very large town, but Augusta is not. Neither is Gorham. But like I said, if I had the windows down, it was 70 degrees out, and I could barely hear it. And it was only because I was paying attention. I actually looked at the signal, saw that it was 1, and then heard the sound. But it is in the end, it will be a mandate for us. It is as we go to upgrade the signal, we will have to bring it to this standard. It's not an optional standard. We're just trying to get ahead of the curve.
where's that mandate originate?
That's from it's in essence from the Americans with Disabilities Act. So in essence, once I touch the signal and I replace the signal, I've got to bring it back up to the current code. The current code has an APS on it. So the moment that the state goes and does all those signals, they'll have to be brought up. The moment that we do Park and Pine and Park and Elm, we'll have to bring them up to the current standard.
And yes, the audible pedestrian signals are made for the blind residents. As I mentioned in the past, it's also juveniles that are trying to cross the street, the distracted individuals walking, and the drivers to know that the pedestrians have the right of way. And without that uniformity, you don't know when it's time to stop crossing or can start crossing.
Right, and it's not necessarily the blind either, it's low vision is what is considered. And so it's not everyone that's cane enabled.
All right, so why don't we do this? Why don't we suggest, instead of doing all 4, although, I'd like to try a couple at least, all right? To kind of get ahead of the curve if we can. Farm and South, but again, with us being very cognizant, sensitive to the neighbors, there's homes right on the corner there, right? At Farm and South.
I don't think we're looking to pick locations. I think it's.
Right. I'd like to do the study and then come back. Thanks, John. Just because it might be, I don't know, it might be cost prohibitive at some locations. I'd rather
Gotcha.
do the study and then we can come back and say, okay, we found out that this, and they're all equal. And being all equal, then we would necessarily choose.
Come back to us. Okay, so,
I
all
see.
right,
We'll come back for a location set out.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, and I think when you come back for locations, I think we're gonna be more favorable to the Farm and South and Park and Elm, especially Park and Elm, because people coming off the train, coming into town, coming to restaurants, I think that makes sense, by Starbucks. Near the library, probably, but let's see how the other ones go first. So I guess you're looking for approval for us to give you marching orders on the 32,000 study, correct?
Yeah, so when I go to the selectmen, I have the back, if they ask me that, is the police commission aware, is the police commission, behind the study, I get to say yes. Or I'd like to say yes.
You okay on that? You're okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so let's have a motion to approve and to approve we're not approving the 32,000. We're approving the action that Tiger wants to take to spend the 32,000 to do the study on retrofitting the crosswalks. All right.
I guess we're approving,
Backing.
is it
backing
that
up
what we're doing
Tigers.
is
We're not
approving
approving the money,
Tiger making the request to
Yeah.
town authorities?
right?
Yeah.
To have the study for $32,000 to upgrade our cross signals and standardize our crossing signals, pedestrian crossing signals. Okay,
Okay,
motion, second. You made the motion, you second it. All
Yep.
those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we got that. Okay, Tiger, good.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank you very much.
Nicole, thank you.
Thank you, commissioners, and thank you, Tiger. You guys have a great night.
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Next, building renovation and training center update.
Sure, I'll talk about that in a second. I forgot to mention that on our December 6th meeting, when we interview the candidates for hire,
Right.
we'll also talk about our FY24 budget requests. They're
Yep.
not yet complete. So once they're complete, we'll talk about that. We can make adjustments as needed, but.
Good, thanks.
That's on finance.
Yep.
Ready then. So as far as the building renovation is concerned, last week, members of the building committee interviewed an owner's representative. Interviewed 3 people, 3 firms, selected a firm, Slam, that the board of selectmen approved the contract for on Tuesday. So that's a first step in the right direction to kind of get them working towards ultimately moving the renovation to addition forward. So it's good news and it's happening. So we're happy about that. We need to continue to work with the architect to kind of resolve some issues specifically related to the fitness room, right, and make sure that that's more than adequate for our officers want to stay physically fit, and we'll continue to work with him and figure that problem out. Everything else has been resolved. It's just a matter of moving that forward, and I think the expectation is potentially June, July, August, depending on how quickly Board of Education moves out of 39 Locust, and the lease has been signed with 39 Locust for us to take over that building once Board of Education's out and they go to Elm Street across from, I think it's 220 Elm. And then we'll need to do some upfit work there, relatively limited, get into an agreement with one of our neighboring police departments, either Darien or Norwalk, for prisoners. And John and Andrew met with our Norcom, our communications provider, to look at what we need to do to move our dispatch center there and move some other equipment somewhere else in town. And so everything's moving forward, lots of work to be done. And so it's certainly good news and good work moving forward. As far as a training center, that's been slowly moving forward. I'd like to see that accelerated so that it's lined up with our building renovation addition. And there's some work some folks need to do. And so we can decide upon what the best location is.
Right, it seems to be coming down to location now, and once we get location picked and approved, then we can go into plans. I would like to see some initial plans, or at least some kind of plans, because right now we have no plans. And I think we need to constantly monitor that process and
Yes.
push that along,
Yeah.
so that one does not get pushed to the back behind the other. This is one big project. It's a project of renovating this building as well as creating a training center for our for both. And actually, it would be great because it would be a training center for both our police department, but then we could do more joint training with our fire department and with our EMS. And then lease out, the idea to then lease it out on either a daily basis or so hourly basis to surrounding departments that have already requested. If we do it, if we build it, they will come, is what we sort of said, so, which is great. And that could help offset the operating costs and as well as profit. And if it works out enough to offset the debt and the debt cost as well. So,
Yeah, I'd like to, maybe you could make a call to Bill Walbert and ask for a special meeting of the building committee just to focus on this issue.
right, I will
Get
do
it off
that.
the ground,
If we
So to
talk
speak.
regularly.
get it in the ground.
Right. Got it. Okay, animal control general order. Yes, this general order, what was changed on this?
It was just a lot of just updating the
Updated,
language.
okay.
Changing or adding the acronym for skill for animal control officers.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Updating things to our current standards, our current regulations.
My question was on C2. Who gets stuck cleaning this? I mean,
Yeah.
who's cleaning it now? Because I've been in there and it's clean, but I don't know who cleans it.
Allison,
Does she? Oh, wow. Yeah,
The shelter,
yeah,
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 she maintains it.
yeah, okay. No, it's been clean the last time I was in there.
Yeah, I mean, there's drains in the floor, so it's not.
Okay, no, it's not ideal. It's not a home either. Right.
The most significant change was we eliminated the previous section that allowed our animal control officers to carry the firearms, euthanize animals that were injured. We're just taking that out.
Right.
We'll have our officers, more officers do that rather than training an ACO with a firearm, allowing them to carry it, secure it. It was
This is simpler,
a little
right?
cumbersome and
Right.
probably not the best practice, so we made it that totally. Have our officers call the scene to do it, and then
Got it.
the ACO can take care of the parties.
Any questions on this?
No.
I had none. Motion to adopt the new general order
So move.
9011 E7. Second.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. It's good work. That cleans up that any discrepancies there. College course approval.
sure, I'll do these together. Sergeant Milligan and Officer Conley are requesting approval for college courses related to their master's degree programs. I recommend approval based on the current labor agreement language and reimbursements.
Okay, motion to approve. Motion to approve.
Motion to
Seconding, all those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Letters of appreciation.
Sure, we have coincidentally one for Officer Bartuli, our Community Impact Officer. And she's coming near the end of her term. She'll be done at the end of the year. And then Officer Cece will be taking over from her. She'll be focusing on the center of town and doing things similarly but different.
Mhm.
And this note is from a merchant in town who was recognizing Officer Bartuli's exceptional work. And she said she definitely needs to be praised for continued support, helping the downtown businesses. She's awesome. So thanks very much to Officer Bartoli for the great work she's doing in the center of town and helping our merchants and our visitors feel a little more secure.
Okay. State of Department.
The article for you to read on juvenile legal updates.
Yep. Okay, any other matters, any new business, any other old business? Seeing none. Any new business? We have a guest in the audience. Yeah, you're new, you're here. How are you? I'm doing well. How about you?
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I came tonight because as a Realtor, I'm on the road a lot. And
Oh, sorry, for those who don't, they can't see you, but it's
Oh,
Chris Hussey.
sorry.
Chris, just state your name.
Christine Husky, 325 Main Street,
Great.
New Canaan, Connecticut.
There she is. Smile.
It's been a long day. Saying as a
Yes.
Realtor on the road a lot, I see things that I think are unsafe. And you let it go, you let it go, but after a while, you say to yourself, this could be a very serious situation if it continues as it is now, and there are several places. One of them, and we had spoken
Right.
about Hoyt Street previously. Right now, especially in knowledge, Hoyt Street, if it's not permitted on both sides, parking, people are parking on both sides. And if you are having a heart attack, or you've had a stroke, or you're having a baby, and you need the ambulance, God forbid you need a fire truck, there is no way that vehicle is going to pass. And I'm saying, I think it would be very wise and prudent of us to allow parking on one side, maybe as you're going up Main, you make it right, or maybe on the right side, because if they park on the left side, they park right on the curve.
Right.
And that makes it difficult if you're coming from East Avenue and it's a big car, and you're not in a big car, and you come around and there's somebody coming right at you. So my thought would be to eliminate going from Main on the Hoyt, eliminate parking on the left side. That's just my humble opinion. The other one, and I've seen 2 near accidents, and I thought, get to talk about this. If you come up Lakeview Avenue onto Main, there's a stop sign here.
Right.
There is a co-op complex, and the people park a lot of the time on Main Street. The problem is they park right toward where Main meets Lakeview. So you have this, maybe an SUV parked there, and somebody's coming up Lakeview and they go to make a right turn, and they have to pull in because whatever the stanchion is that tells you where to.
Oh, the
They're
crosswalk.
wonderful. They're
Yeah.
great. They really slow traffic down. I commend you. They're all over town. I wish we had more. But if the car has to maneuver too much, if it's a big car, I don't know, if we hadn't had any accidents, it's surprising. So I'm thinking maybe a sign that said, no parking here at a corner, maybe 2 parking spaces in. Still allow parking on Main, but give the person coming up, especially if it's a little short person or a child just gotten their license, and they're making that corner, they can't see who's coming. And they can't see who's in the way.
Okay.
That's 2. And the last one is being there just about every day, coming out of Bankwell. If you go to the on Cherry Street, you come out of Bankwell, they have, I believe, 3 parking spaces permitted there. And I realize parking is a premium, and I realize it's important, but if you're coming out of that bank, and I don't know why, but all of a sudden, people seem to be flying down Cherry Street. How they get up such speed when they just came off of Locust, I don't know. But if you're coming out and they're coming at you, you have no place to go. And the driver is the one that's gonna be hit. So I thought maybe, I don't know if maybe just taking away one space, just to allow a better view. Because between the greenery that's there and what you see parked there a lot are trucks, and they're high, so you can't see around the truck. And you're out there and you're exposed.
Okay,
That's all. That's it.
well, thank you, Chris, for coming and pointing those out to us.
Well,
John.
as I said to you earlier,
Yeah.
I believe in doing things to prevent a bad situation. I don't want somebody to have a heart attack or have some awful thing happen. And the emergency vehicle, that's my only concern. The emergency vehicle should be able to have access. That's all.
Thank you.
Lakeview and Main Street, is that the one near the cemetery? Or is it the other end of it?
It's, well, if Lakeview comes, you can get to the cemetery if you go down Lakeview in the back way.
It's right here.
Go to the
Top of the
dump.
hill.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Volume,
Yes,
I'm
maybe.
sorry.
Yep.
Every other town has a dump. We have a volume reduction plant.
Gotcha,
If you're going to the volume reduction plant, you're going down Lakeview.
gotcha.
Yes.
But again, it's just a blind spot. You're edging out.
Yeah.
And you can't see who's coming. And if there's particularly there are a couple of trucks, commercial vehicles parked there. I don't care how big you are.
Yeah.
You can't see around.
And
That's
they've
all.
been there with the construction on Lakeview all the way to, I guess, 123. There's been a lot of large trucks there recently because they're part of the construction. They will go away, but I understand what you're saying, and that if we have a couple of spaces where there's
Just a little.
25 feet or whatever, the right.
Just so that you
50
can
feet.
see around
Yeah, that's,
to sneak out.
no, thank you for pointing that out. John, you got that?
Thank you for letting me speak.
We'll
There's
get on
also a
that.
speeding airport.
Good to see you all.
Great to
Thank
see you
Thank
again.
you.
I'm
Thank you.
very, very
Thank you for coming
happy that
by.
you are finally going to have an updated home. Really.
It's been
Thank you.
long
I'll have a
overdue.
big celebration when it's done.
Come visit often.
You could be as a guest. We'll pick you up.
Really want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
When I walk into town council meetings, after sitting there for 29 years, they don't say hello. What's wrong?
Thanks, Chris.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Chris.
Have a good evening have a very nice.
Have a great Thanksgiving. You too.
Take care.
Chris. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go into executive session then. We need a vote to go in executive session. Second.
Second,
Favor,
aye.
Aye. And executive session is 7:45.
Yep.
Okay, we're coming out of executive session at 6:47. Any other topics to discuss? So, none, hearing none. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Good night.